Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching this weekly Ag Weather Update brought to you by the Farm Credit Associations of North Carolina. One of my favorite resources is the website you're looking at right here. It's called blitzertung.org. That stands for lightning location. It's German. And what you're getting here is just a live map early this morning of where some of our storms were, just off of the Carolina coast here and then getting out into and over the top of the Gulf Stream. So a great resource to be using because we do expect over the next few days for there to be quite a bit of scattered thunderstorm activity. And you can see the reason why. Looking here at the low-level flow of the atmosphere, there is a frontal boundary right into this area that's just going to slowly push toward the south and east, and it is fed on a lot of moisture coming around the Bermuda High, and we've been talking a lot about that pattern lately. Now, outside of that, I want to point out a couple of things. We do have two separate tropical systems. You see them right over here in the Pacific, East Pacific. That would be Felicia, and this would be Guillermo, and they're moving this direction. But if I just bring you over here to the Atlantic, just something to point out. We don't see any areas of active tropical development. In other words, the flow coming across the Atlantic is really just not giving us any of those large easterly waves on which we can start to build clusters of tropical thunderstorms. I'm going to come back to that in just a few moments because I don't expect this to continue. I expect the pattern to become quite a bit more active here very soon. So just getting a quick glance at the near term, there were some of the storms, the scattered storms we did see this morning. They were forecast pretty well. We're going to watch them move to the east throughout the mid-morning day today into the mid-afternoon. You can see the scattered storms here across the eastern part of North Carolina. But that boundary just kind of sits here. And so as we go into the overnight hours, we could get some clearing across the state. But then as we come into tomorrow morning, we're going to watch the storms build over here toward the Appalachian Mountains and along the south. And then as we get into the mid-afternoon and evening, scatter storms are going to move here through parts of the Piedmont toward the coastal plain. But again, it's going to be largely scattered in nature, so some folks could miss out on some of these rains. That continues even farther into the week as we get out there into Wednesday as well. So just in the near term, the beginning of this week, cooler with scattered rain. That's what I wanted to kind of keep you aware of here. Now, broader perspective on moisture so far through the month of July is shown in this map. It's the July 1st through July 18th precipitation ranks by climate district. Let's get a kind of a whole U.S. view here. We can find our wettest corridor right in through this area here, and that actually extends into the lower Michigan as well. And the driest region has really been the upper Midwest and parts of the Red River Valley of the north. And the corn in this area is going into pollination, so that's been problematic. But lately in July, better rains in Iowa, better rains in South Dakota, Nebraska, Missouri, Illinois. You can see through part of the Corn Belt here, much better precipitation. Thinking about our cotton belt, it is hard to find an area in the cotton belt where we are seeing in the month of July major moisture stresses. They tend to be, again, in the upper Midwest and in the Pacific Northwest, as you can see here. North Carolina, we've been drier in the northeast quadrant, so you can kind of see these two climate reporting districts here that are on the drier side of average, and that shows up better maybe if we look in the last 14 days or so. You can see that some of this area, I'll zoom in again there, has been drier than normal. You can also see here in the Appalachian Mountains we've been drier, but the quarter in between right there, we got 100 to 175% of normal rainfall just in the last couple of weeks. So let's boil this all down to soil moisture. Now, when we take a look at this map carefully, we notice that throughout much of the Carolinas and into Virginia, we're doing pretty good at 40 centimeters soil moisture. So that's 16 inches down. A couple of drier places right into this part of North and South Carolina, right on the border, and then into this section of Virginia. But if you just step back and look at it, I'm just going to identify a couple of areas, all right? If you're outside of those areas that we kind of just highlighted here, we're looking pretty good in terms of soil moisture. In fact, some places in excess. We saw that wettest corridor. Well, look at how saturated the soils are in this area right now. Same thing throughout much of the lower Mississippi River Valley over into parts of the Panhandles of Texas, where I'm expecting even more storms, especially as you get over the Four Corner states soon. But in the upper Midwest, the Red River Valley of the north, and then in the Pacific Northwest, extremely dry conditions. In fact, take a look at this. Now, this is this morning as the sun was rising here, but can I take you back to yesterday? And this is going into yesterday midday. Look at the fires showing up here in Oregon. Major fires. And that smoke was spreading not only through parts of Oregon, but wrapping around. I know it's hard to see here, but it's kind of wrapping around the flow, the clockwise flow in the southwestern monsoon, spreading the smoke all the way into the central part of the United States. Very very active wildfires yesterday. Now, where's this pattern going? I wanted to get to the longer term pretty quickly here. Let's take a look at the upper level jet stream flow. So the colors here represent the speed of the jet stream level winds, but I want you to watch more about the position, because through Tuesday into Wednesday and Thursday, just take a look at the flow. It's coming out of the Gulf of Alaska like this. It then dips down into a trough like that, coming into the Pacific Northwest, and that's part of our EPO pattern. And then this ridge builds here. Now we're going to be in the downstream side of this ridge, all right? And what I want to be watching out for are systems coming off of the nose of that ridge, weak ones, that could eventually move all the way to the Carolinas, because as you go from Wednesday into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you can see how the momentum gets transferred over the top of the ridge and then comes cascading downstream. See it like that? And as a result of this pattern sticking around, not only until next Sunday, but even into next week, I mean, see the ridge still in place here. We have to watch out for what this means in terms of returning some of our major precipitation systems out of the Northwest. We're still feeding on that tropical moisture in this area, but that's going to be the mainstay of the pattern I want to discuss with you. So let's go to the European model. And we've already seen this. This is through Monday, and now getting out into Tuesday and again on Wednesday. So you see that just a lot of scattered precipitation during that time period. And just to put a number on this, some of the storms could be putting down, better than an inch to upwards of 2 inches of rainfall. Now from Wednesday moving forward, what we're going to keep an eye on here is some daily convection through the end of the week. But I'm going to step back, and I just want you to watch storm systems coming in from this direction, okay? So this is through Friday, but let's just come back here. Watch it in reverse. So do you see these systems here, like this one on Wednesday afternoon? As it progresses through, that one moved into the northeast. But maybe this weekend, see this guy right here? Watch what happens this weekend. While we could just see daily scattered convection through the end of the week, by the end of this week and weekend, see that one comes down like this, and by Sunday morning starts to push to the east. And that just increases our rainfall chances here early next week all along the whole of the eastern seaboard, but especially in the mid-Atlantic and the Carolinas. And you notice, I'll just kind of draw over the top of these isobars. That is a familiar story, isn't it? We just continue to feed everything on the moisture from both the Atlantic and the Gulf. So you kind of stitch all that together, and this is what you get in terms of total precipitation. So through early this week, some of those storms, I'll just take you out through Tuesday. How about we go out to Wednesday evening here? We could get, in some places, according to the European model, 1 inch to 2 inches of rainfall. In fact, the probability of seeing that's better than 1 inch of rain is relatively high. In fact, let's just pull that up real quick. One of my favorite resources is weatherbell.com. I'll come over here and click on maps. We're going to use the European ensemble. And let's go back to the 0Z run, and let's just pull up the probability of getting 1 inch of rain. And let's see what it looks like out there to about, there's 10 days. And what you notice here is that this area, we got a pretty good chance at seeing 1 inch of rain through the next 10 days. So as we look at this, our first round is coming through earlier this week, and then scattered storms through the end of the week. But remember, as I told you, watch this upcoming weekend. Do you see it? Watch right in through here, building out of the Canadian Prairie through the upper Midwest. That could then increase our early week rainfall totals here in North Carolina next week. So we just kind of stitch it all together, get it on an overall map here for our next 7 days, and we're generally looking at wetter than normal conditions. Drier farther to the north into parts of Virginia, but overall wetter than normal conditions through both of the Carolinas. Now from there, is anything significant going on in the tropics? Well, I'm kind of going back in time here, but that's just to show you the answer is no. Overall, we have suppression in the tropics, and therefore no organized tropical systems are really showing up coming out of the main development region, Caribbean, Gulf, or even just off the coast. And there's quite a bit of really dry and dusty air in here. This is looking at a forecast through the middle of this week and how much dusty and dry air is in place coming off the Sahara, and that's helping to suppress things as well. So the National Hurricane Center says nothing expected in the next 5 days. Now, I went through that fast because I want to talk about this. You see, as we look out there longer term, this particular style of figure tells me when to start to be concerned about tropical development. Now, it's a tricky figure to understand, but I want you to see the warmer colors through here, the cooler colors through there, and then the cooler colors through here. Now, I know it's a strange graphic to look at, but here it is. Where you see those warmer colors, you generally have subsidence, sinking air in the atmosphere. You know you got to get rising air to make clouds and precipitation, and therefore tropical systems. So if you notice, from the 19th of July through almost about the 27th of July, see these warmer colors here? They are sitting geographically right on top of Africa. And that's why through the next, let's call it 10, 12 days, the likelihood of development of a tropical system off of Africa or in the Atlantic is limited. But as we get out there to finish July and start August, we see better tropical convection coming off of what we call the Sahel. It's right here. And that is just telling me that we need to start to watch for a more active August compared to what we've seen in the month of July. That's the main story I wanted to give to you about what's going on in the tropics. Now, coming back to our precipitation forecast, by day 10, the ridge is anchored right in through here. So the flow comes over the top of it and does something like that in the jet stream level winds. Now, what does that mean for our precipitation, not only here along the East Coast, but honestly around the rest of the country? Because what you're going to notice is that during that time period, let's blow this up a little bit, when looking at how much moisture is in the atmosphere that's available to precipitate out, that's called what we call precipitable water, you're going to watch for these values to go up high in this graphic. So what we see here is we just don't seem to bring in sustained dry air through the end of this week, and even as we get out through the weekend and into early next week. So my point is that it does not appear that we're going to have an extended time period, that's where you get like more than 10 days or so, of drier weather, because there's nothing shutting off the tap of moisture, and we tend to just keep getting daily convective events or stalled out frontal boundaries bringing in precipitation. So the European model looks at all of this and says, well, if you're going to keep the Bermuda high here and the flow open with much higher than normal pressure to the west, we can go straight from there and just say, well, what's that 7-day time period on precipitation look like? Let's get the latest model run here. You get something like that. That's what it looks like. That's all of week 2. That's hour 336. So do you notice in this whole area, near normal to wetter than normal conditions continues to be forecast? That is the mainstay of the forecast here as we work our way to the very beginning of August. On the temperature side of things, we are cool today, cloud cover and rain. We saw that already at the beginning of the forecast. As you go from there to Tuesday and Wednesday, it's a cooler start to the week. And again, a lot of scattered showers and cloud cover. The heat is in the northern plains of the United States, where we could see temperatures today about 105 degrees in Montana, North and South Dakota. It cools down later in the week to 99. But as we play this forward, this is Thursday, getting into Friday and Saturday. That's when our temperatures return back toward normal here in the Carolinas, and that carries through to Sunday. Day 5 through 10, let's shrink this back up so we can see the whole map there. Most of the very high temperatures remain in this corridor. What about for the Carolinas? Near normal temperatures is what we expect. And that's really largely been a continuation of what this whole summer has given us, right? We've just not seen extended time periods of extreme heat. That's been something that has been placed more in the west, the northwest, and in the northern plains. So what I'll do to finish this up is let's just take that longer term view out there. Let's go July 25th all the way to August 24th. And if you feel as though this pattern is on a wash, rinse, repeat cycle, it really is. I've shown you this map multiple times. Where's the Bermuda high? It's here. And that's a drawing I've done, I think, every single video for the last, 8 weeks. Because of that, just keeping that flow open, you'll see that over the next 30 days, the models are generous with the rainfall. And while it does show up with a drier pattern in this area, I do not expect that to be overly dry through the Carolinas and Virginia. I expect near normal precipitation through August. What would throw that off? Let's ask that question. All right, the ridge keeps staying, let's try that again, right in through here or back into the west. And the Bermuda high stays planted here. If that Bermuda high shifts, which it could, but if it does shift, then we go over drier. Or if the ridge starts to build up the East Coast, then we go hotter and drier. And there's not a single forecast model that's calling for that. As you see in the temperature pattern looking out there over the same time period, again, July 25th through August 24th, well, maybe a degree or two warmer than normal, but much of the real significant heat is north, right in through this area. So I think that's going to be our mainstay of the story as we progress forward. And I'll tell you something, if something changes in this, especially if a tropical system develops, I will be the first to let you know so that we can stay on top of it. So I'll give you another report next Monday. We'll talk to you then. Thank you.